Hello and welcome back to the Stacey West YouTube channel. I am Ben and I'm joined by Dave Fletcher from Radio Derby. He is the Burton Albion commentator. He'll be helping me preview this weekend's action at Sincil Bank. So, Dave, how you doing, mate? Are you well?
Evening, Ben. Yes, very good. Thank you. Very well. I'm better now than I was in the first 7 games of the season, certainly from a Burton perspective.
I was going to say, I mean, we'll start off. We'll say, what were the pre-season expectations for Burton, and do you think, currently 18th in the table, is that roughly where you'd expect to be, or do you see them climbing the division a little bit and maybe settling in around that mid-table area?
Wow. Expectations were reasonably high because they finished off last season quite well. Including a very enjoyable trip to Sincil Bank, as I recall, on the evening that they actually secured their status in League One. And then he added really nicely Dino Marmria. We were all very excited when Cole Stockton signed. He's had his injury problems. Jasper Moon came back from Barnsley. He's added an awful lot of players, as Burton tend to do every transfer window in the last 5. I think they've added at least 10 to 12 players, which is too many, and Dino Marmria knows that, and he has said that he wants to try and get away from that. But yeah, expectations were really high. So they went to Blackpool on the opening day of the season and were soundly beaten, really. But you sort of thought, wow, it's Blackpool. They've come down. They had some good players. They've kept a lot of players who were playing in the Championship. But then the bad run continued, and 2 points from the first 21, and all of a sudden it's another season, you think, where Burton are going to have to do something in the January transfer window to escape, which they've done in each of the last 2 or 3 seasons. However, they have turned the corner. I firmly believe they've turned the corner as a neutral observer. A win at Port Vale. Which was a strange night, because if Port Vale had beaten Burton 1-0, they'd have gone top of League One with a negative goal difference, which I think would have been terrific. I mean, as the old romantic who didn't want Port Vale to win clearly, but I thought if they win 1-0 and they go top with a negative goal difference, I'll take that. And they won, and since then they've picked up 11 points from 15, and they're winning the nonsensical EFL trophy against Everton under 21s thrown in as well. It's been a really good run, and they've done it without Cole Stockton, because he injured himself, or got injured, in the second game of the season, which was the League Cup tie against Leicester City. How anybody got injured in that, I've no idea, because Burton didn't touch the ball for 90 minutes. But he landed awkwardly, and he did his thigh, and he came back, and he did his calf, and he's only just back now. So I'd be staggered if he played within the next couple of weeks, certainly. Okay. But they've done it without Cole Stockton, and everybody thought that the signing of Cole Stockton, yes, I know he had his injury issues last season at the start, but he finished last season terrifically well for Morecambe, scoring goals in a poor side. That he was going to propel Burton to be the surprise package of League One, and at the moment they're anything but the surprise package of League One, although the way they've played in the last 5 matches is far more how I certainly and a lot of people expected them to go this season.
Yeah, and that was one of my first questions, really, is what changed? What was there a catalyst for that change, or was it just kind of a mentality shift, maybe? Or how did they manage to turn, like you say, 7 games without a win in the first bit of the season into suddenly now going 5 games unbeaten? Was there a noticeable shift, or did it just happen overnight, or what happened there?
Desperation, I think, as much as anything. I think the players were genuinely desperate at Vale Park. They've suffered a couple of other injuries as well. John Brayford out, that didn't help, and they've sort of come into terms with being without him. He's had an operation. I mean, he's been sort of the talisman over the last 2 or 3 seasons. And they have now gone to a back 4, mainly because Jasper Moon's also injured. So they went from 3 central defenders to 2 and 2 fullbacks, obviously. And and I can't, off the top of my head, remember if they played with 4 at the back or 5 at the back at Port Vale. But all of a sudden, it just seemed to click. They scored 2 goals in those first 7 matches as well. The August goal of the month competition was, well, slim pickings. They were both tapping from inside the 6-yard box.
Yeah, that sounds like ours. Like ours. I think it was last December. One of our goal of the month contenders was a penalty, so that gives you an idea.
Exactly, and you just think about what on earth is going on. Then all of a sudden, they started scoring goals, and they've been scoring 2s and 3s in pretty much every game since. It just seems to have clicked. I think the big thing was, and Dino Marmia actually mentioned it after the game against. Who did they play? Who did they play the other night? Blimey. They won.
Cambridge.
Of course they did. I've got a terrible memory, I've come straight off a full season of cricket doing Derbyshire, straight into Burton Albion, and I'm still a bit frazzled. That's my excuse. After the game against Cambridge, he actually said, and he reverted back to it, the last transfer, the last international break, the game against Port Vale was called off because Port Vale had the requisite number of internationals. Goodness knows who they were. But so that game was called off, and he had quite a lengthy period in which he worked. He said he and the team worked on a lot of things. And then, of course, they came back and they didn't win the next match. It was Exeter, I think. And they were disappointing against Exeter, who they'd won their first game against last season. But then they went to Port Vale and everybody's going, well, they've got no chance. This is the team who's going to go top of the table. They got to an absolute flyer, didn't they? And they've won. And all of a sudden, they've suddenly thought, well, hang on, we're not as bad as everybody said we were. And they've tightened up at the back. They started scoring goals. It's a fairly simple game, isn't it, football?
Yeah.
If you don't let them in and you score some, then you've got more chance of winning games than not. When you're not scoring any goals, the defence is suddenly thinking, well, if we let one in, we've lost. And then it's panic stations, absolute panic stations. And it's all calmed down quite nicely. And they've settled into a rhythm. The team hasn't changed that much over the last 3 or 4 matches. They're starting to build an understanding. Strikers continue to be an issue, although Bez Labala, who missed the game against Cambridge, will be back. Available, certainly, for the game against Lincoln. He was suspended for 1 match after 2 really ordinary yellow cards, which we're seeing more and more of, aren't we, this season? But you know the sort I'm talking about. So he's available again, but whether he gets back in, because Josh Walker came in for a start and scored a goal, and it just seems to be working. Now, whether he's weaved his magic or not, I have no idea.
Okay.
He will tell you that he has. So,
I mean, you mentioned there that you know Burton started off the season with 3 at the back or 5 at the back, if that's the way you decide to sort of say it, and you've switched to 4 at the back. How has that impacted on the style of play? I mean, the stuff that I've seen, it seems to suggest that that Burton play a 4-1-4-1, you know, with a lone man up top. Has the, you know, what sort of football can we expect from Burton at the weekend at the Bank? Is it sort of fast flowing attacking football, or is it sort of, you know, blood and thunder, old school, you know, lump it long and away we go?
They like to get it out wide, and they like to get crosses into the box. The problem being there isn't a target man at the moment to get crosses into. Labala isn't really a target man. Josh Walker certainly isn't. The key to this whole improvement for me, really thinking about it in the 4-1-4-1, is the first of the ones. Joe Powell has been absolutely brilliant for the last 6 weeks. Absolutely brilliant. That quarterback role, if you like. He likes to get the ball off the 2 central defenders, and he'll ping it to either side, and that will release the wingers. Quadro Bar, who is getting better and better because he hadn't had much football in the previous 18 months, having gone from Rochdale to Watford and then to Germany for season on loan where he barely played. And Mustafa Carriol, who is nearly as old as I am. It's remarkable that he's still going. He's been terrific. He switched Bar to the right against Cambridge because he didn't want him to cut in off the left and try and cross with his right. So he's gone to the byline, and both goals were as a direct result of low crosses in from the right-hand side. But at least one of the passes, one of the moves, but one of the passes was from Joe Powell, and it all hinges on Powell. If you put somebody on Powell, I'm sure the Lincoln management will have spotted this. I'm not giving away any trade secrets. If you put somebody on Powell, it will diminish what Burton Albion are able to do at the moment. The two centre backs, Sam Hughes is a good ball player. Ryan Sweeney is decent, but they're two old-fashioned, big, tall lads who can kick it and head it, which I quite like in a centre back. If I'm entirely honest, Steve Seddon on the left likes to get forward. Tom Hamer on the right likes to get forward, and of course Tom's got the enormous throw where he can launch it into the penalty area, which they've gone away from a little bit. They used to do it all the time. Now, quite often, they'll throw it back to Seddon near the halfway line, and he'll cross it in. But it's all about Joe Powell for me. He was sensational the other night.
He scored a cracker of a goal against Wigan as well, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, he'd had one saved about 2 minutes before that.
Okay.
He is capable of that kind of thing. He scored one against Portsmouth a couple of seasons ago down at Fratton Park, which was very, very similar. He doesn't mind a shot. He's got a terrific left foot. Kept his cool for the penalty as well that won that game as they came from behind. And on Monday against Cambridge, they suffered a blow, and Mark Helm was named in the starting 11 but withdrew after the warm-up. Kieran Gilligan comes in, plays 90 minutes. Kieran Gilligan's barely played this season, and he was great as well. There seems to be a different attitude now to what there was prior to the first international break. And I can't put my finger on what it is, because they're all the same players. Obviously, he hasn't been able to add since then. Dejosh Elijah, who ostensibly is regarded by a lot of people outside the football club as a defensive midfielder, is quite often the furthest midfielder forward. Scored a goal in midweek. Likes to be in the penalty area, and it's very un-Deji-like, really, from his career. But he sort of turned him into an attacking midfielder, mainly because he only plays with the one holder, and Powell is the holder, which is incredible, really. Even away from home, he'll play with just one holding midfielder, which I applaud. I always think teams, they almost waste a player, don't they, playing with two holding midfield players wherever they are, whether they're at home or whether they're away. I think at home it's criminal. I think away from home it's quite brave not to have two, but he doesn't have two. But he does have players like Gilligan or Helm who can win the ball back and then pass it to Powell, and he'll get him moving forward.
Okay. So, I mean, you've alluded to it briefly. You said obviously there were two trivial yellow cards the other day. I did notice that, so far Burton have picked up 2 red cards in the season, 29 yellows. Is discipline a problem, or do you think this is kind of a reflection on the way that referees are being told to implement certain rules, shall we say?
It's funny, isn't it? Because whenever I've been commentating, my summariser, Aaron Webster, who played hundreds and hundreds of games for Burton Albion in their journey from non-league into the Football League, somebody kicks the ball away, I'm screaming for a yellow card. This is last season. He's going, "Oh, calm down," and he's right. But now it's happening, and I'm thinking, well, this isn't. They're just booking people for nothing. And a bad challenge will go in, and nothing happens. There was a Wigan player in the first half, picked up a yellow card, and then committed one of the fouls that you automatically get booked for, pulling a shirt and dragging somebody down. Referee has a strong word with him. And he gets taken off at half time by Maloney, because he knows that if he does anything wrong in the second half, he'll see red. Well, why didn't he see red? But if he'd have kicked the ball away, he'd have probably got a second yellow card.
It's something that we've discussed on the podcast quite a few times, where we've said, that it's fair enough to want to put these rules in place to, to stop sort of stamp down on dissent and, increase the respect for the officials. But when you're getting a booking for dissent for essentially reacting to something that hasn't been given, there's got to be a bit of give and take there, because ultimately, I think Chris on the podcast said, if you get the decision right in the first place, the dissent doesn't follow because you've got the decision right. And I think that's something that we're starting to see more and more of, actually, going forward. And it's getting, I think, the game that we had at the weekend was quite a frustrating one, because you could see that happening more and more. The referee that we had at home against Cheltenham was a bit of a nightmare for it, and there were so many yellow cards in the game that shouldn't really have I mean, by the letter of the law, yes, they should be given, but it's just a frustrating thing to watch. So, is it more of a reaction to that, do you think, than a disciplinary issue for Burton?
I think so. I think
Okay.
so. I think we were always expecting the number of yellow cards to increase. I think this season, but it's almost. I don't know if clearly I have no hotline to the Football League or the AFA. It's almost like traffic wardens, isn't it? They almost have to have so many bookings in a match, and they think, well, these are the easy ones. We can dish out 5 yellow cards, 3 to one side, 2 to the other, for somebody standing in front of the ball when a free kick's about to be taken.
Yeah.
Somebody kicking the ball away, somebody holding it under their arm and not letting the opposition get it back, and the card comes straight out, and you think, what is going on? And Dino Marmria was sent off earlier this season because of this ridiculous, in my opinion, this ridiculous change to the regulations where only one member of the coaching staff can stand on the edge of the technical area. I've been to a couple of Derby County matches as part of my job as well, and they have it where the manager, they're almost like, you remember the old weather predictors where the man comes out and it's sunny or raining and the woman comes out and it's the opposite. They're like that. They're sort of, it's like a tag team going backwards and forwards. They can't talk to each other.
Yeah.
Because they've got to shout. Once you start shouting, well, we should do this, well, the opposition 5 yards away can hear what you're going to do.
Yeah.
I understand the crackdown and absolutely agree with you that there has to be more respect shown to match officials, but I'm not sure this is the way to do it. If you know what I mean, I think there'd be more respect if the match officials were slightly better.
Yeah,
that might be a start, mightn't it? If in League One we actually had match officials who knew something about the game, if you like, and could see, well, that isn't necessarily a foul. He's chucked himself over there, or he was looking for that, and that sort of thing, which seems to pass them by.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's always a hot topic, isn't it? Of conversation when it comes to refereeing, and we'll move on because it's going to be
forever.
I imagine it'll be a sensitive topic for some. How have your new signings settled in? How have they settled in so far? Are there any that have really made you sit up and go, wow, so far? Are there any other danger men that we need to look out for aside from Joe Powell?
Quadro Bar of the new signings is probably the most exciting. I didn't know an awful lot about him. My sports editor at Radio Derby had seen him play for Rochdale when he was up in Manchester. And when he signed, he sent me a message straight away. This is an exciting lad. And the first few weeks, he didn't really show much. Dino Marmria didn't think he was fit enough. And he was almost forced into playing him due to injuries and the number of games that they were playing. And in the last 2 matches, all of a sudden, he's shown exactly what he's about. If I don't hold a lot of truck with the stats that these companies churn out, because even on Monday night it said that Burton had 2 shots on goal and scored 2 goals, 2 efforts on goal and scored 2 goals, and yet Des Yoshalaja had a header blocked on the line. That wasn't a goal, but it didn't go down as an effort on goal. But he is top of the list for players who will beat a defender. The most dribbles. He loves a dribble. He likes a nutmeg. He's the kind of player who really does get you off his seat. You think if they get the ball to him, he'll have a go. And he's basically been told by Marmria, get to the byline and put the crosses in. That's your job. I spoke to him after the game against Cambridge. First time I'd spoken to him, and he said he's just starting to feel fit again, just starting to feel part of the team because it's taken so long. So he's really key. Steve Seddon, who plays at left back, obviously on loan from Oxford at the moment, spent much of the second half of last season on loan at Cambridge, and I think he'll make it permanent in January because he was one of the really early signings. Top class left back, no question about it. And it was an area where Burton had really struggled. They haven't had a left-footed left back until Seddon arrived in my entire time. I've only been doing it for about 3 years. They didn't have a left-footed left back in that entire time. They tried Tom Hamer there. John Brayford's played on the left. It was madness, really. But now they've got a proper left-footed left back who likes to get forward. So he will go forward and help whoever's playing in front of him. It was Carriol on Monday night. They're the 2 signings that have excited me the most so far, but I must mention Max Crocombe. They've signed 2 goalkeepers in the summer. Craig McGilvray came last year from Charlton, unbeknownst to us, only signed a 6-month contract. And then in the summer left and went to Milton Keynes for whatever reason. Why anybody would go to Milton Keynes, I have no idea. I think it was because it's nearer where his family home is. Obviously, he's a Londoner,
Okay.
always based in London, so he came from Charlton. And good luck to him. So Jamal Blackman and Max Crocombe arrived. Now, Blackman was automatically the number 1, but picked up an injury at Port Vale, interestingly. So Max Crocombe might even be the catalyst for this good run. He's top of the number of saves per match. Now, that isn't necessarily the kind of category you want to be top of, because it means the opposition having plenty of shots, but he's been absolutely terrific. Just good enough to get called into the New Zealand squad for this international break. However, they've said he can come back and play, because I think they're playing in Spain, and they're certainly playing in London next week against Australia. So he will be available. But he's now back. He's got a couple of New Zealand caps already. He's back in that New Zealand squad again. So he's obviously doing something right. But you've only got to see what he's done, and he's been absolutely terrific. And he's got good feet. He can ping a pass 50, 60 yards to the wing.
Excellent.
So yeah, they're probably the 3. They're probably the 3.
Cool. I mean, we're currently devoid of strikers, so it's going to be an interesting weekend for Max, I think.
Well, Burton are a bit short on strikers. Mason Bennett's done okay, but of course he's had his injury problems. Josh Gordon, who got 15 last year for Barrow's, done okay, but hasn't got a goal yet. So I think there was a lot of expectation placed on Cole Stockton's shoulders, and the only time we ever see him is sitting 3 rows in front of us in the main stand at the Pirelli Stadium in his tracksuit, because he hasn't played. But as I say, Labala will be back, and I imagine he'll go straight back in, because Walker looked absolutely shattered after an hour on Monday night.
Okay. Last couple of questions, really. First one: any Lincoln players that have caught your eye so far, or that have flagged up on score sheets, or in match reports that you think wouldn't mind them at Burton?
Anybody who listens to me on the radio, in football or cricket, will know that my real lack of homework on opposition teams, it's almost legendary now. I couldn't tell you who played for Lincoln, I'm afraid.
Dave, we are kindred spirits. I get an awful lot of stick on the podcast for not doing my research. So
I'll write the last team down. I'll note the changes. I'll get the formation off the boys behind me in the press benches, and then I'll hope to identify the players as correctly as I possibly can. I will do my best, but at the moment, what are we, several days out from the game when we're recording this, I haven't even looked at Lincoln City.
There we go. No, fair enough. No, appreciate the honesty. But the final question that I think everyone needs to ask about Burton at the moment: Bovril?
Yes. You know what? They could have done it slightly better, and it's not for me to tell the Burton media team how to do their job, and I wouldn't presume to do so. But the fact that Peter Crouch held up a shirt with Crouch and 15, and I know that was Peter Crouch's number when he was playing. That was the number he was most associated with. It was spoiled slightly because that's Bez Labala's number.
Right.
So we knew straight away that it wasn't a signing.
Okay.
And the other one is to describe Bovril as their official hydration partner is interesting due to the amount of salt.
I was going to say it's about 90% salt, isn't it?
It makes, I think once you've had 1 cup of Bovril, you need 5 gallons of water. So, but it's, I mean, Burton's chairman is never slow to try and earn a few quid, and he's done a magnificent job over the years, because Burton Albion are debt-free, and that's what every club strives to be, don't they? We've seen a lot of clubs much bigger than Burton getting in all sorts of trouble.
Absolutely.
Ben Robinson will never spend more money than Burton Albion have got, and any more money that they can get in obviously helps.
No, absolutely. I mean, that sounds, it does sound very similar to how the Imps are run at the moment, and it sounds like we've both got chairman at the clubs that we can be proud of. So that's going to do it. Thank you ever so much for joining me, Dave. Really do appreciate you taking the time to preview the weekend's game. at Sincil Bank. Is there anything that you want to just have a 30 seconds or so to promote or plug, or is it exclusively Radio Derby for you?
I wouldn't. Well, that's all I do, and I wouldn't presume to even think that Lincoln City fans would rather listen to Radio Derby's commentary than BBC Radio Lincolnshire. So no, I would say stick to the channel you normally listen to, and you won't go far wrong.
Excellent stuff. Thank you ever so much, David. We'll see you soon.
Cheers, Ben.